Welcome to the class of computer networks. Now we discuss the OSI model. So first of all, to discuss before the OSI model, we need to know what is the purpose of networking. So the overall purpose of networking is to allow two hosts to share data with one another. Okay. So let's say, let me write it over here. Purpose of networking is to allow sharing data between two hosts. Okay, so let's say we have two nodes in the network, or we can say two hosts in the network. Let's say this is host 1 and host 2. What actually happens when there was no networking? Okay, so अगर डेटा यहाँ से कॉपी डेटा यहाँ से मुझे सेंड करना है इधर host 2 को, if I wish to you know send some data or share some data that is in the host 1 machine and I want to share with the host 2 machine, उस केस में कैसे करते थे? यहाँ से डेटा आपका ऑब्वियसली द सिंपल मेथड, यहाँ से डेटा किसी ना किसी डिवाइस के थ्रू कॉपी किया और यू जस्ट वॉक अराउंड और यहाँ पे होस्ट 2 पे जाके उसको पेस्ट कर दिया, सिंपल. सो दैट वाज द ओनली मीन बिफोर नेटवर्किंग कि डेटा किस तरीके से एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे शेयर हो सकता था. ओके, सो दैट वाज द केस जबकि नेटवर्किंग नहीं था. What actually networking did, networking just automate that process. Okay, that means now with the help of networking, if we can say that these two hosts are connected through a network, that means with networking we means that now they are allowed to share the data. Okay, in direct way without manually copying a paste. Okay, now they can share the data. So that is what the purpose of networking. Okay, now to solve this purpose of networking, the host must follow certain rules. Okay, and for example, let's say if any language has its own rules. जैसे इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज में अगर आपको बात करनी है तो इट हैज़ सर्टेन सेट ऑफ रूल्स. इफ़ यू वांट टू टॉक इन हिंदी, सो हिंदी में बात करने के लिए उसके अपने एक कुछ सेट ऑफ रूल्स हैं. सिमिलरली अगर दो होस्ट एक नेटवर्क में बात करना चाहते हैं, सो दे मस्ट ऑल्सो फॉलो सम रूल. ओके, सो नेटवर्किंग के इन सेट ऑफ रूल्स को 7 लेयर्स में डिवाइड किया गया और उसी को हम क्या बोलते हैं? ओएसआई मॉडल बोलते हैं. ओके, सो networking rules are divided into 7 layers that we called as OSI model. Okay, so in other word, OSI model actually divides the rules of networking into 7 layers, and each layer serve a specific purpose. Okay, so and the main thing is the overall goal of networking is to allow the sharing between two hosts. Okay, sharing the data between two hosts. So if all the 7 layers work properly, okay, in synchronization, then we will achieve the purpose of networking. Okay, so that is what the OSI model is all about. Okay, now let's see the purpose of each layer and how it actually contribute to the goal of networking. Okay, so number 1, that is layer 1, and layer 1 is your physical layer. Okay, so before getting into detail of each and every layer, let me draw a diagram so that you will get the clue of all the 7 layers. And what are those 7 layers? The layer number 1 is physical layer, layer number 2 is data link layer, layer number third is network layer, layer number 4 is transport layer, layer number 5 is session layer, layer number 6 is presentation layer, and layer number 7 is application layer. Okay, so as such there is it is not like that we need to mug up all these names, but it is important to know what are the functionalities of each and every layer. Okay, so now let us see layer by layer, and the functioning of each and every layer, और उनका काम क्या होता है और किस तरीके से वो कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं टू सर्व ओवरऑल पर्पस एंड विच इज शेयरिंग द डेटा बिटवीन टू होस्ट. Okay, so now first of all of you know that computer data exists in the form of 0 1 bit. Okay, bit की फॉर्म में होता है, 0 1 का एक सीरीज की फॉर्म में आपका डेटा होगा. ओके, नाउ देर इज ए नीड, अगर मुझे ये 0 1 बिट एक होस्ट से, होस्ट नंबर 1 से, और मुझे अगर पहुंचानी है होस्ट 2 तक. ओके, सो ये 0 1 की बिट अगर मुझे एक यहाँ से, इधर से, और अगर दूसरे एंड पे पहुंचानी है. ओके, सो उसके लिए मुझे कुछ ना कुछ उस पे वी नीड टू हैव समथिंग टू ट्रांसपोर्ट दोज बिट. ओके, between these two hosts. Okay, and anything that contribute to moving 0 1 bits from this place to that place, you know that will come under the layer 1 technology. Okay, so what can be the layer 1 technology? Layer 1 technologies can be: number 1, the cables. Okay, so we have seen the coaxial cable, twisted pair cable, or it can be fiber cable. Okay, so all of these cables actually serves the purpose. जो उनका काम क्या है, वो यहाँ से इस host 1 से host 2 तक इन 0 1 की बिट को ले जाने का काम करती हैं. Okay, so that is why if we talk about the layer 1 technology, so cables come into the layer 1 technology. And what if there is no physical physical mean between two hosts? Okay, so there is a further technology, that is Wi-Fi. So don't confuse that the layer name is physical, that means we can include only physical, because OSI layer Wi-Fi के आने से पहले बना था, so that's why we kept it in the same way. But Wi-Fi also serve the purpose of same thing, that is moving bits from H1 to H2, and that's why this Wi-Fi is also common as a layer 1 technology. Okay, similarly, what can be the other technologies? The next come into picture is repeaters. Okay, now what is the repeater? Okay, repeater is nothing but the device which is actually going to amplify the signals from one end to the and one end and out to the other end. Okay, so basically what actually happens, if there is certain, because there is certain distance between host 1 to host 2, and in between transferring this 0 1 bit from this place to the another place. Okay, what actually happens, that signals goes weak as long as the it covers the distance. Okay, so वो सिग्नल को दोबारा से एम्पलीफाई करने का काम आपका क्या करता है, रिपीटर करता है, और साथ में उनको सेंड करने का काम. Okay, so it actually, what it actually does, it amplifies the signal and send it to the outer station. Okay, so that is somewhere in between, then repeater comes. Okay, so similarly, what else can be or we will also talk about these repeaters and hubs and bridges switches in the networking devices. Okay, we have already seen probably in the previous lecture. Okay, so now what can be the other level 1 technology, and that is hub, because hub is also nothing but a multi-port repeaters. Okay, so multi-port repeater की तरह ही होता है आपका hub. Okay, so that is also a level 1 technology. Okay, so now moving ahead, let's see what is the purpose of layer 2. And layer 2 is what? Your data link layer. Okay, so as I already told you that each and every layer in the OSI model have its own specific purpose. Okay, and the major to serve the major goal, and major goal is sharing the data between host 1 to host 2. Okay, so the purpose of this layer 2 is hop to hop delivery. Okay, uh, how actually it works, what actually layer 2 does. Layer 2 actually interacts with the wire means with the physical layer. Okay, if I'm saying wire, that means physical layer. So it actually interact with the physical layer, that is put the number of bits onto the wire and retrieve the bits from the wire. Okay, so the layer 2 the functioning of layer 2 number 1 is interacting with the physical layer. Okay, and that means whatever to this wire actually connects. Okay, or you can say the uh, you know that wire is how that wire is connect to a particular PC or computer. Okay, so जिस भी तरीके से वो कनेक्ट होता है उसको हम क्या बोलेंगे? लेयर 2 आइटम्स बोलेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट मी क्लैरिफाई व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज a wire is connected to a PC or to a laptop, okay, through the network interface card. Okay, so that is why network interface card is a layer 2 item, or in a specific I can say the it is a an NIC is a layer 2 technology. Okay, so if I talk about the layer 2 technology, we have NIC, that is network interface card, and also we have Wi-Fi access card. Okay, so Wi-Fi access card is also to access the medium, and that is the wireless medium. Okay, so to access that medium we need the wireless access card to be installed in our device. Okay, in our PC, in our laptop or mobile or a smartwatch or anything. Okay, so these are also your L2, or you can say layer 2 technology. Okay, now, previously, no, let me talk certain things that NIC and Wi-Fi access card were previously the external devices that I need to explicitly. So probably you have not seen that time, but initially what actually happens that NIC was a device that was coming altogether different from your computer. And similarly, if you want to access the Wi-Fi, there is the external device, that is Wi-Fi access card was there, and you need to install that NIC and Wi-Fi access card in order to actually you know to enable your device to access that medium. Okay, so otherwise आप इंटरनेट से कनेक्ट नहीं कर सकते थे. Okay, so but nowadays the devices are coming with the inbuilt NICs and the Wi-Fi access card. Okay, in fact even if it is your smartwatch, okay, that has your inbuilt Wi-Fi access card. Okay, so let me go further in the layer 2 technology, and we can see that there are switches, okay, switches also your layer 2 technology, okay. And again the switches is something that comes in between, uh, it can take the smart decision, and it can decide, let's say if we have, you know two hosts over here, and in between if we have switches, okay. So स्विचेस का काम क्या था, ओके, एज वी डिस्कस इन द स्विचेस, स्विचेस का काम आपका था कि स्विचेस ये डिसाइड करता है और एक कनेक्टिविटी प्रोवाइड कराता है कि डेटा किसके मतलब किस और जाने चाहिए, ओके। फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट मी क्लैरिफाई विद अनदर एग्जांपल. So switch can be converted, connected with more than two devices, okay. Now let's say if it is host 1 and host 2, this is host 3, host 4, and h1 intend to send the data to h3, okay. Now there is, as we have discussed in this the switches part in detail, okay. So you can see that switches take the decision that the data packet will come here, and switch is going to make the connectivity, wire connectivity, internally, and will send the data to h3, okay. So switches is also, you can say, is coming, it is going to do the work of layer 2, okay, and which is nothing but the hope to hope delivery, and hence this is also a layer 2 technology, okay. So now if we talk about the purpose of, as I already told you, the purpose of layer 2, or you can say the data link layer, is nothing but the hop to hop delivery, okay. So how it actually happens, let me take another fresh page. Let's say we have host 1 here, host 2 here, and host 1 want to send some data to host 2, okay. And we have seen that now the network interface card is going to interact, or is going to attach with the wire, okay. So let's say there is some physical mean, okay. If we are talking about the wired communication, if we are talking about the wireless communication, there would be Wi-Fi access card, okay. So in this case, you can understand in this manner that in order to achieve the goal of hope to hope transfer delivery, okay, one addressing scheme is introduced by the data link layer, and that addressing scheme is called your MAC addresses. So MAC address, oh sorry, so layer 2, or you can say data link layer, have one addressing scheme, and that is MAC addresses, okay. So here you can see that host 1 is a computer, and it will have a NIC card, okay. And here also we have the NIC card, one specific NIC card for each and every device, okay. And we have the MAC address associated with this NIC card. Now, what is the MAC address? MAC address are 48-bit address, and that is represented in 12 hex digit. Okay. For example, so it is a, first of all, it is a 48 bits representation, and representing as 12 hex hexadecimal digits. Okay. So for example, it would be something like this. Okay. So this is a MAC address, or there are different notion. You can write it in this manner also. With here you have separated the hex digits with the dash, and then you can separate it by the colon. Okay. And similarly, another notation is you can separate it by just a dot. So that is okay. So what are these all are same. Okay, these all are same with different representation. Okay, so this is something which is followed by the window machines. This is something if you have Linux machine, and this is something where that is used by the Cisco server machine. Okay, so the thing is the concept is the same, that this is the MAC address only. The only thing is different machine use their own notation to represent, and in the Windows machine you can see the hex. These hexadecisions are nothing separated by the dash, and then in case of Linux machine it would be separated by colon, and in case of Cisco server machines it would be separated by a single dot. Okay. So now, one thing there to notice here is that every single NIC has unique MAC address. Okay, so if I'm talking about here, if it is NIC 1, so it has some MAC address 1, and similarly, if we have NIC 2, then it has some unique MAC address 2, and this is something the address which is going to attach with the NIC card at the time of its manufacturing only. Okay, so now let us further explain what actually happened. So let's say we have this host 1 machine, and NIC. I'm just putting the I'm not writing the whole MAC address over here. Like, I'm simply writing, let's say A1. A1 is the MAC address for the NIC installed in H1. Okay, and similarly, let's say we have another host machine, which is host 2 machine, and here the NIC MAC address is E8 E8. Okay, for simplicity I have just taken the first two part of the hexadecisions, and I'm leaving the rest of. Okay, so now this host want to communicate to this H1 host want to communicate to S2, and how it actually happens in actual, this MAC address allow to transfer data from one NIC to another. Okay, so here one NIC is installed, here another NIC is installed. Okay, every device comes with its own NIC. Okay, network interface card. So यहाँ पे इस NIC का एक यूनिक मैक एड्रेस होगा, इस NIC का अपना एक यूनिक मैक एड्रेस होगा जो कि यहाँ पे मेंशन किया है. ओके, नाउ these MAC addresses in actual allowing the transfer of data from one machine to, or you can say one NIC to another NIC. Okay, so in a layer 2 in at the layer 2 we can say that there is a data transfer between NIC to NIC. Okay, so now as I already told you that switches also exist at layer 2. Okay, and I was discussing that switches also accomplish the task, and which is the host to host delivery, and which is the task of your layer 2, and hence we have put the switches into layer 2 technology. Okay, and in actual what are the switches are? So switches are nothing but to facilitate the communication within a network. Okay, so switches का काम क्या है कि वो within the network ही बात करते हैं. Okay, so कहने का मतलब है कि वो एक communication को pursue करते हैं. Okay, जो कि एक नेटवर्क के अंदर हो रहा है. ओके, दे आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द बिटवीन नेटवर्क. सो इफ देर आर टू डिफरेंट नेटवर्क्स, देन विल सी हाउ द कम्युनिकेशन इज गोइंग टू हैपन. बट स्विचेस एक्चुअली आपका विद इन द नेटवर्क, आपका कम्युनिकेशन के लिए आपका स्विचेस, they provide the facility to communicate within the network. Okay, so that is if switch is connected between two hosts, and then the uh, traffic will you know or I can say the traffic is going to move along the uh, through these switches and to the another host. Okay, and hence the switch is also accomplishing the task of hop to hop delivery. Okay, now we see. Okay, so now we see that if you are communicating with the things that are far away. Okay, that is it is not always necessary that both host h1 and h2 lies under the same network. What actually happens, और उस तरह के communication किस तरीके से होगा. Okay, so that type of communication between host requires multiple hops in between. Okay, so that means if I am in India and if I want to talk to some computer with the that is in the US. So there is we are having the different network, so that is not connected to my network, but it is connected to a different network. So in that case, what actually happens, I am going to send the data to my next hop, and then this hop by hop communication is going to happen, and finally my data will going to reach to the server of that lie in the US. Okay, so if after switches, there is one need, okay, of introducing a device which actually make sure that we have this hope to hope communication to be happen in the network, and that device we call the router. Okay, so in this case, if we are in a situation where hosts are far away, okay, and they both lie in a different network, then we need to jump on the multiple routers in between. Okay, and that is now my device will send the data to the router 1, and then that router 1 will send the data to router 2, and so on. Okay, so let us see what I'm actually talking about. So let's say we have host 1 here. This would be the NIC address. This would be connected to a router. This is router 1. This is again connected to a different router. This is router 2. And let's say we have host 2 machine over here, and this is the NIC. Okay, now each of those router are actually connected to wire. Okay, so you can see that the same wire which through which we initially we had two hosts connected with, now we have in between the series of routers. Okay, so here also the routers are connected to the wire. और ये मैंने आपको लेयर 1 में बताया था कि वायर से डिवाइस को कनेक्ट करने के लिए हमें क्या चाहिए, we need NIC. Okay, so in the layer 2 we have seen this, that we need NIC to connect a wire through the device. Okay, so here also uh, you know there are many NICs can be installed in the router. Okay, because a router is not only connected to a single network, it is connected to different networks. So now this router is it may also be connected here, this may also be connected here. Okay, like this. Okay, so every NIC have its own unique MAC address that we had discussed. So in other words, you can say that each of these routers uh, are connected to wire using NIC, and therefore each of these NIC have their unique MAC addresses. Okay, and layer 2 will handle taking data from one MAC address and delivering it to next MAC address. Okay, so that means what actually I mean, now we have this NIC installed over here. Similarly, one NIC would be here also for this interface, for this interface, for this interface, and for this interface. So for every interface of router, we have one network interface card, and every interface network interface card has its own unique MAC address. Okay, so you can say a host machine can have a single MAC address, but it is not true for the router. एक राउटर के पास एक से ज्यादा मैक एड्रेसेस होंगे, एंड दैट डिपेंड्स कि हाउ मेनी नेटवर्क इंटरफेस कार्ड आर इंस्टॉल्ड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर राउटर और इन अदर वर्ड वी कैन से कि वो राउटर कितने अलग अलग नेटवर्क से कनेक्टेड है, उतने ही अलग अलग नेटवर्क इंटरफेस कार्ड की उसको जरूरत होगी. ओके, सो let us assume that as of now we take the simplest example, and then let's say this is NIC and this will have an address B2B2. Here this is another network interface card. The address would be, let's say, B3B3. This is another network interface card of no, router 2 and having address C4 C4. Similarly, this would be C5 C5. It would be D6 D6, and it would be D7 D7. Okay, and the host machine have its own MAC address. Now what I was talking about, the layer 2, at the layer 2 communication, what actually happen, it happens between MAC addresses to MAC address. That means this NIC will send the data to this interface card, this NIC. Okay, and then this NIC is going to send here to its next hop. Similarly, this is going to send here, and this is going to send here, and finally the data is going to reach from host 1 to host 2. Okay, so this communication, okay, is called your hop to hop communication. Okay, and that is what the functioning, or you can say the purpose of the layer 2, or you can say the data link layer, and that is hop to hop delivery. So data link layer ensure the hop to hop delivery with the help of the technology, which is network interface card, switches, or whatever. Okay, the main thing is with the help of MAC addresses. Okay, so the addressing scheme the layer 2 provide is MAC addresses. Okay, now the question comes, if we if L2, or you can say the layer 2, is taking care of this hop to hop transfer. Okay, then who is going to take the guarantee from delivery of data from this end to this end? Okay, and here the layer 3 comes into picture, and that ensure end-to-end delivery. End-to-end delivery means from this end to this end. Okay, this is what the end-to-end delivery is. So now let's see the layer 3. So the third layer is layer 3, which is network layer. The purpose of this layer is to provide end-to-end delivery. Okay, and to serve the purpose of this end-to-end delivery, layer 3 actually has its own addressing scheme, and that addressing scheme is known as IP addressing. So addressing scheme, okay. And what are the IP address? IP address is nothing but 32 bits, 32-bit address, and represented as 4 octets. Okay. So IP एड्रेस इज नथिंग बट 32 बिट का एड्रेस होगा जो कि 4 ऑक्टेट्स के अंदर 8 बिट के 4 चंक्स के अंदर डिवाइड होगा. ओके, एंड वी सेपरेट दैट ऑक्टेट विद अ डॉट. ओके, सो नाउ we can say that every host, okay, mind it, every host in the network now has its own IP address. Okay, for example, let's say if this was host 1 and it had the one installed network interface card with the MAC address. So let's say this was its MAC address, but now the it would be, associated with an IP address. So let's say that is 10.1.1.1. Okay, so let's say this is the IP address. Similarly, another host in the network will have its own IP address, and that would be, let's say, assume. Okay, getting my point? So every host in the network will have a unique IP address. Okay, in between there are routers. Okay, so now these IP addresses actually make sure to send the data from this host to this host. Okay, or in other word, it allows the data uh, to for the end to end, or you can say it makes sure the end to end delivery. End to end delivery means H1 होस्ट से H2 होस्ट तक कंप्लीट यहाँ तक डेटा पहुंचाने का आपका ये इंश्योरिटी, ये कौन मेक श्योर करता है? ये आपका लेयर 3 और नेटवर्क लेयर में मेक श्योर करता है. और किसकी हेल्प से ये मेक श्योर करता है? बाय इट्स यूजिंग इट्स एड्रेसिंग स्कीम विच इज आईपी एड्रेस. ओके, नाउ इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द लेयर 3 टेक्नोलॉजीज. Okay, so we have seen in the previous slide, we have already seen that these routers are actually taking care of the purpose what the layer 3 actually serve, that is end to end delivery. Okay, so that means यहाँ राउटर यहाँ से इसने इसको हॉप के थ्रू भेजा, ये वाला आपका सारा काम लेयर 2 पे हुआ. ओके, now these routers are in actually what purpose they are actually serving. इस होस्ट से कंप्लीट डेटा को दूसरे एंड तक ले जाने का काम आपका थ्रू द सीरीज ऑफ राउटर्स हो रहा है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई दीज राउटर्स आर कॉल्ड योर लेयर 3 technology. Okay, so in the layer 3 technologies we have routers, also we have the hosts. Okay, और होस्ट की जगह अगर मैं इफ ये भी कहूं तो ज्यादा ठीक होगा कि एनीथिंग विद एन आईपी एड्रेस. exist at layer 3, or you can say network layer. Okay, so now the question comes, if we already have one addressing scheme, that MAC addressing scheme I have, and then what is the need of having this IP addressing scheme, or vice versa? If we have the IP addressing scheme, then what is the need of having the MAC addressing scheme? So for that, we need to first see that how actually the you know uh, communication establishes between two host, or you can say in other word, how a packet is going to transfer in a network. So that we have to look. Okay, so the question was कि क्या जरूरत है जब मेरे पास एक एड्रेस है, इफ आई हैव आईपी एड्रेस, तो क्या जरूरत है मैक एड्रेस होने की? ओके, और इन अदर वर्ड इफ आई टेक इट रिवर्स, अगर मैक एड्रेस है तो आईपी एड्रेस होने की क्या जरूरत है, और आईपी एड्रेस है तो मैक एड्रेस होने की क्या जरूरत है? ओके, व्हाई कांट आई फॉलो only one addressing scheme? And the reason is that both the addressing scheme, uh, you know both the addressing scheme serve the different purpose. Okay, for example, let MAC addressing scheme is a layer 2 technology or layer 2 addressing scheme, and which is actually the purpose of this MAC address is, okay, to achieve the goal of the layer 2, और layer 2 का goal क्या है? Hop to hop डिलीवरी. सिमिलरली अगर हम बात करें आईपी एड्रेसिंग की, सो आईपी एड्रेसिंग स्कीम लाइज एट लेयर 3, or you can say the network layer, and it has a different purpose to serve, and which is end to end delivery. Okay, so for this to understand, as I said, that we need to see that how packet flows through the internet. Okay, so that means for having two different scheme, different addressing scheme, is that each of addressing scheme serves the different purpose, and how it actually serve its own purpose. Let's see by an example. Okay, so let us take a fresh page, and then we'll see. So let's say we have host 1 over here. I'm using the same network. Okay, so let's say it's an, as I told you, that it is the host will, every host will have its own unique IP address. Let's say there is host 1, okay, जिसको कोई डेटा भेजना है host 2 को. Okay, so host 1 wants to send some data to host 2. So how it is going to happen? So let's say, first of all, what would be the data would be something that would be some 010101 combination, समथिंग लाइक दिस. ओके, सो ये 010101 का कॉम्बिनेशन कुछ है जो कि भेजना है होस्ट 1 से होस्ट 2 को. सो ना तो लेयर 2 को इस डेटा के बारे में कुछ पता है, ओके, ना लेयर 3 को इसके बारे में कुछ पता है. द ओनली थिंग दैट नो इज that there is a chunk of some 0101 bits, और उसको हमें h1 से लेके और some h2 पे भेजना है. ओके, so because h1 knows, okay, that we need to send the data from from h1 to h3, and hence it adds some layer 3 information to the data. Okay, so now it will let me put it over here. Okay, so I am writing this data downside over here. So let's say if this is the data, or you can say it would be some 0101 series. Okay, now this host or this computer, this h1 computer, what actually it will do, just because it knows that this computer wants to send the data to this h2. Okay, so what it will do, it will add some layer 3 information, and what is that information is, it will add the source and destination address. Address is nothing but its own ip address, and the destination IP address is जहां उसको डेटा भेजना है. Okay, so it will add layer 3 information, or you can say network layer information. अभी के लिए इसको इस तरह से समझिए कि इस हेडर के अंदर सोर्स का एड्रेस है, सोर्स का आईपी एड्रेस है और डेस्टिनेशन का आईपी एड्रेस है. सोर्स के आईपी एड्रेस से ये पता लगेगा कि किसने भेजा है, और डेस्टिनेशन आईपी एड्रेस से ये पता लगता है कि कहाँ पे जाना है. ओके, सो जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि हर होस्ट के पास उसका अपना एक आईपी एड्रेस होगा. ओके, सो उस आईपी एड्रेस सिमिलरली इस जिसको भेजना है उसका भी अपना एक आईपी एड्रेस होगा. तो यहाँ पे जब डेटा रेडी हो रहा है भेजने के लिए, सो होस्ट मशीन क्या करेगी, उसकी लेयर 3 इंफॉर्मेशन कुछ उसमें ऐड करेगी. ओके, but after adding this, okay, let's say this is something we what we got. Okay, but again the host one knows, host one computer ये जानता है कि मुझे अगर डेटा h2 तक भेजना है तो मुझे ये डेटा पहले राउटर 1 को भेजना होगा. ओके, and then router 1 will send ahead. Okay, that is another thing. Okay, so there is one extra information जो कि layer 2 of कंप्यूटर h1 कंप्यूटर आपको बता रही है उसको कि मुझे ये डेटा अगर भेजना है फाइनली होस्ट 2 को, तो इन एक्चुअल मुझे ये डेटा किसको भेजना होगा, राउटर 1 को भेजना होगा. ओके, सो कहने का मतलब द नेक्स्ट हॉप इज नथिंग बट द राउटर 1, और टू बी वेरी स्पेसिफिक, to the network interface card of router 1 which is connected to the network of h1. Okay, so यहाँ पे क्या होगा, layer 2 भी अपनी कुछ information ऐड करेगा, and again that would be source address, source MAC address, and the destination MAC address would be okay. So the destination MAC address would be B2B2. Okay, now this packet, okay, is going to send by host 1 to router 1. Okay, now router 1 will receive this. Okay, router 1 will receive this packet and will remove this information. Okay, or you can say the data link layer information or layer 2 information जो कि host 1 ने ऐड करी थी, वो router 1 क्या करेगा, उसको हटा देगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पे इस इंफॉर्मेशन का केवल और केवल पर्पस बस इतना सा ही था कि डेटा मेरा h1 से लेके और r1 तक पहुंच जाए, जो कि पहुंच गया. सो जब ये डेटा r1 पे पहुंचेगा, सो r1 पे पहुंचने के बाद सबसे पहले क्या करेगा, R1 ये चेक करेगा क्या ये मैक एड्रेस यही है. ओके, और इफ दैट मैक एड्रेस इज करेक्टली फाउंड, ओके, तो वो उसको क्या करेगा, उसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा और उस हेडर इंफॉर्मेशन को, डेटा लिंक लेयर वाली हेडर इंफॉर्मेशन को या लेयर 2 हेडर को वो वहां से हटा देगा. Okay, then now again what the router will left with, this, and this router will add further data, further will add the layer 2 information. Okay, and that layer 2 information would be, okay, so now and will send the data to next router. Okay, similarly once this R2 will get this, okay, it will check the destination address, क्या वो मेरा ही destination address है. If it is correctly found, so वो क्या करेगा, इसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा डेटा को और इस हेडर को रिमूव कर देगा. अगेन द पर्पस ऑफ दैट हेडर इज सॉल्व्ड. ओके, एज आई टोल्ड यू, मैक एड्रेस का पर्पस केवल इतना सा है कि वो एक होप से दूसरे होप पे ट्रांसफर कर दे, दैट्स इट. ओके, उसके बाद उसका कोई यूज नहीं है. ओके, सो नाउ राउटर 2 इस इंफॉर्मेशन को हटा देगा एंड further will add another layer 2 information. Okay, because it want to send to its next hop, and another layer 2 information would be added, which would be, and the process will become the same. Similarly, R3 will get this. R3 will check the destination address is the intended destination address, and for him only. Okay, so it found it correct, so it will accept the data, will remove this header, and will again add further layer 2 information, and that would be, okay. So now you can see that this is something what the host 2 machine will get. Okay, so host 2 machine will get this data. Okay, and we'll see the network interface card of host 2 will see again कि यहाँ पे क्या मिला है. ये एड्रेस, डेस्टिनेशन एड्रेस मेरा ही है. ओके, इफ इट इज फाउंड करेक्ट, ओके, देन इट विल एक्सेप्ट द डेटा और इसको रिमूव कर देगा. ओके, आफ्टर दैट इस होस्ट की जो नेटवर्क लेयर है वो ये चेक करेगी कि यहाँ पे जो इन्फॉर्मेशन आईपी एड्रेस की दे रखी है, डेस्टिनेशन आईपी एड्रेस की, क्या वो आईपी एड्रेस मेरा ही आईपी एड्रेस है. देन इफ इट इज सो, वो इसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा और इस इंफॉर्मेशन को हटा देगा, और उसके बाद केवल और केवल यहाँ पे क्या बचेगा, डेटा बचेगा. ओके, and again the data is going to be consumed by the host machine, okay, over here. And this is how the data from host 1 to host 2 is being transferred. Okay, so the thing is that every we have seen that every addressing is necessary over here, because the MAC address is solving the purpose of hop to hop transfer, while the IP addressing or logical addressing is providing the purpose of end-to-end transmission of data. So this is why we have both MAC addresses and IP addresses, addressing schemes. Okay, now we have been talking about IP addressing and MAC addresses as different functionalities or different functions, जो कि वो हैं भी. ओके, IP एड्रेस और MAC एड्रेस दोनों डिफरेंट फंक्शनलिटीज तो हैं, ये तो समझ में आता है. ओके, बट I should mention here that at this point a protocol that is going to be, tie these together, tie both these addressing schemes together, and that protocol is called your ARP, which is address resolution protocol. Okay, so we will talk about the ARP in detail in the later in the classes, but as of now you have to know that you know ARP, it is actually links the layer 3 addressing scheme and to the layer 2 addressing scheme. That is, in other words, it links an IP address to MAC address. Okay, सो इन दोनों एड्रेसिंग स्कीम के बीच में जो एक बॉन्ड टाई करता है वो कौन सा प्रोटोकॉल है, वो प्रोटोकॉल है ARP. So sometime it can be asked in optional, as a theory question. Okay. So now moving ahead, we will have the further layer, which would be uh, transport layer, or you can say the layer number 4, which is transport layer, that we will see in the next lecture. Okay. So thank you very much.